everybody should be able to see now. Look carefully. This is the Jamaican dollars, and this is a USD label, and this is a USD rate. So if it is $46,000, then the conversion to US is $294.87.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you just said it was a US amount.
No,
so
man.
This is $294.
Yeah, this is $294. So this is the US value.
$294.
All right. So let me adjust this label and put JMD so that at least you should be able to, once you look at it, see clearly that this is the amount due in Jamaican dollars, amount due in US dollars. All right.
Okay, because I have USDS above it.
Oh, and I was saying to you that this is the USD. Let me type rate here. Let me type rate there so that you understand a little bit better.
Yeah.
Get it now?
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let us move on. Any other questions, guys, before I move on? All right. So there are no questions. We're going to move on to the next instructions. All right. So it says here, so we've done the balance due. All right. So it says add columns for storing amount paid and for calculating the balance due. So these are two new columns, amount paid and balance due. So here we go. Go back to our spreadsheet, type amount paid, tab, balance due. No, I don't want this to wrap. Don't want these to wrap. So I'm going to open them up because these may end up bigger. So let me just open them up a little bit. Remember, I told you that I did a sample spreadsheet. So I'm not going to go ahead and type over anything for the sake of time. I'm just going to copy, right? So I'm going to copy here, and I'm going to go and I'm going to paste. Hold on. Not the amount due. I'm going to copy the amount paid. And then I am going to, and then I'm going to paste it inside of the spreadsheet that I was working on before. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste, right? So this is the amount that each person paid. And I want to know the balance due. Now, there is no requirement, students, for you to put the balance due in US dollars. But if you want to be so precautious and do it, it's no problem, but I will not be putting it in. All right. So the balance due now. So based on what I have here, students, how would I calculate the balance due? And I want you to tell me exactly how I must type it in this cell. Anybody can answer.
Yes, miss.
Go ahead, Courtney. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yes,
you sound very far away from your device. So it's hard for me to hear you.
So I think you put M7.
That's not the first thing you should type, Courtney.
Equal.
Equal, very good.
Yeah, M7.
M7, so I click on M7.
Minus 07.
Minus 07. Beautiful, very good. You're learning, Courtney. Everybody saw that? Right, so we take the amount paid and we subtract it from the amount due. And as usual, we're not going to waste time typing over anything. So we're going to autofill. And remember, we put the mouse pointer over the fill handle, click and drag down. Down is not the only way we can autofill. It's just that in this case, we're only going down. We can autofill to the right as well. Okay, and even to the left, and you can even autofill up. All right, because what if, for example, I had put in the formula here? I could just simply autofill up. And what if I had put the formula? What if I had typed the formula in the middle, which don't make any sense, right? I can autofill up and I can autofill down. But that's an extra step. So the most natural thing for you to do is to type the formula at the top and autofill and go down. All right, so that's the balance due. Okay, let us now move back to the instructions. It says calculate the balance due, and I did that already. It says add a column called status. In this column, you will indicate by using the word eviction if a resident has a balance greater than or equal to $15,000. Now, here's another lesson, because remember, I don't have time to teach you all of these things individually and then let you do the project. So we're supposed to add a column called status. Good. And it's a new function, guys, and this one is called the if function. So I'm going to type equal if and double click on the if function. Now the if function, students, takes 3 arguments, and please remember that these notes are in your Google Classroom already. So if after today's lesson you want to go back and review, they are there. It takes 3 arguments. It takes what is called a logical test. Now the logical test will make use of logical operators. And let me just close the bracket here and press enter for the time. It's going to bring up an error message, but let me take out the if function because I need to talk to you about the logical operators. So notice a while ago that my question says the word eviction must be placed in the cell if the resident has a balance that is greater than or equal to $15,000. We will need to make use of logical operators in order for us to be able to put in the logical test. So we have these operators that we use. We have equal to, we have greater than, and I hope you can see me typing them in the cell. Greater than, we have less than, and many persons, students confuse greater than and less than. An easy way to remember, as big as some of you are, is to remember that your right arm, and if you fix your right arm in, just put your fist together in front of you. You notice it forms like a little less than and greater than sign, where your left arm forms a less than sign and your right arm forms a greater than sign. So what my father taught me, and I never forget it, is that my right arm is greater than my left arm. So when I put up my 2 hands and I put my fist together, I realize the shape of my right arm and the shape of my left arm. So that way you never ever forget which one is less than and which one is greater than. So we have equal to, we have greater than, we have less than, we have greater than or equal to. In math class, you're accustomed to putting the greater than sign and then drawing a line underneath it, but we don't have that symbol in the computer. So on the computer, so you have to type it like this. And then we have less than or, yes, dear, less than or equal to.
Is it that because your right hand is the one that you dominantly use, why they say that?
Yes.
Really, so, does that not apply to Michaela then, Miss?
So Michaela, just going to have to remember the rule that's just what the rule says. That's not what the rule says, because most persons, of course, are right-handed, and you have a few persons. You have a lot of persons who are left-handed, but few of them are left-handed. Yeah, and some persons are ambidextrous. So you just need to remember the rule that your right hand is greater than your left hand. So when you put them up, you can say, oh yeah, so it's shaped now, yeah. So this is the greater than sign and this is the less than sign, right? Mm-hmm. So we have equal to, greater than, we have less than, we have greater than or equal to, and we have less than or equal to, and then we have what we call not equal to, meaning it's neither less than nor is it greater than. And so we use both the less than and the greater than sign together. So they kiss. All right, so those are the logical operators that we will use or may make use of when we are doing the logical test. So I'm going to leave them on this home, and as usual, it'll give me trouble, but I'm going to just put a little quotation mark before it so it does not bother me. So you can always see the operators right there. I'm eventually going to move it, but at least you can see what they look like. So it says we are supposed to, let me put back in my if function equal if, and I'm going to double click so it puts in my bracket for me, and I'm going to do the logical test. So the question says if the balance due, so I'm going to click on the balance, is greater than or equal to 15,000, right? That will cause an eviction. So this is the first argument, which is a logical test. I'm going to put a comma. No, it says we're supposed to display eviction in the cell. So I'm going to open double quotation mark. So you see, anyhow you're doing putting in a letter or a word, in the value if true, because we're now in the value if true argument, you have to enclose them in double quotation marks, not two single quotation marks, but double quotation marks. So I'm going to type the word eviction. And the reason I'm telling you this, students, is because if function in the value if true, you can do a calculation, and in the value if false, you can do a calculation. In this case, we are not doing a calculation, we're simply putting in a word in the cell. Hopefully, I get enough time, I can show you again how these functions work and how we can work with a calculation, right? If the person is not going to be evicted, we're just going to put a dash there. You can leave a space if you wanted to, but I prefer to put a dash so that it obviously looks like we did something in the cell, or you could type no eviction. It all depends on what you want. I'm just going to put a dash there and press enter. And you notice it works because this person has more than $15,000 due, and that person gets eviction, right? So I'm going to autofill, and you notice here that most of them will have dashes, but only 3 with eviction. I can center it so that the dashes don't look so strange. So I make the cells are already highlighted, so I simply click on the alignment, the center alignment in the alignment group. All right, so that is the status. Remember, we're using an if function, and the if function requires 3 arguments. It requires first a logical test. You should make use of your logical operators where you compare cells. You can compare cells, you can compare a cell with a value, and then it will take a value if true, and in this case we want to put eviction, and a value if false, we put a dash. All right, enter. So now we have done the status and we are ready to move on to the next instruction. It says, using conditional formatting highlights in red the residents who will be evicted. Of course, I have a bit of instructions here. So just in case you forget how to do it at some later date, you want to come back, it's there. It says, use conditional formatting highlights cell rules equal to and type evicted. That's just the instruction on how to do it, guys. So we're going to go back to, and it's because it's new for me, it's a reminder for me as well. So I'm going to highlight the area that I want to use conditional formatting on. I'm going to make sure I'm under the home tab, and in the styles group, I'm going to click conditional formatting. I'm going to select highlight cell rules. I'm going to select the equal to option, and I want to type in the word that I'm looking for, eviction, right, in the equal to box, right, and then I click OK. So what you can, it is going to say you must format the cells with light red fill with dark red text. You can change it. You can say yellow fill with dark yellow text, or you can do a custom format to say what you want it to look like when it highlights it. Please don't use the one that I use. Be creative and use something else. Don't so you learn to do something. All right. So I'm going to leave mine as this, and I'm going to click OK. And you notice only those values that have eviction have are highlighted with red. All right. So that is your conditional formatting. It's only formatting those cells to red that have eviction in them. All right. No, next instruction. It says you're in an appropriate section of the residence sheet, show the residents who have a balance exceeding 5,000. Now this is what we call a filter. Now there are 2 different ways to do a filter. I'm going to show you the advanced filter. And to do the advanced filter, when you filter out something, you pick out what you want and you delete out the things that you don't want, right? With the filter, I'm going to delete these things here so I can have them out of the way. The first step in the filter is to highlight the headings of your table, and you're going to copy those headings. Let me format my sheet first, my data first. I'm going to put in some borders. So I'm going to highlight everything. A while ago, I used the arrow key. So you would have normally just click, hold down, and drag across, and then down to highlight. And then in the front group, under the home tab, you're going to look for this little icon that says border, bottom border, drop it down and select all borders, right? I want the borders in because when I do the filter, I want the borders in the filter, because if there are no borders in the filter, it's going to look the same way when I do the filter. All right, so first step for the filter is to highlight the headings that I want to use. Right click, and I'm going to copy. Going to make sure I go back over in the corner of, I'm seeing column A, and I'm going to just, in the cell below, you don't have to, it is no specific cell, but in one of the cells below, you're going to right click and you're going to paste. So you're going to paste back the headings. Now, when you're doing your filter, it's important for you to put your criteria. The criteria will determine what you're going to pull out of the table. So in our situation, it says, we're going to pull out those residents who have a balance exceeding 5,000, right? So we're going to go to the balance column, and we're going to put greater than 5,000, because greater than 5,000 means exceeding 5,000. So we're having our headings and we're having our criteria. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight the table that we want to do the filter on, right? So we highlight the table, and then we're going to go to the data tab, click on the data tab, and in the sort and filter group, we're going to click on advanced. Now it will put a marching ants border around the table, and what you do now is to click where it says criteria range, click on the little red and blue button and scroll down and select, make sure you select on the very first column name right across, and we're selecting the 2 rows because the first row has the headings and the second row has the criteria. When we click back on the little red and blue icon, takes us back to the advanced filter dialog box. We select the option button that says copy to another location. It makes visible this copy to location. I'm going to click on the little red and blue box. I'm going to scroll over. You have to make sure that you scroll all the way to the left. And then just a few rows below the criteria, I'm going to just click. Then I'm going to click back on the red and blue icon, and then I'm going to click OK. So right away, it pulls out or filters out those persons who have a balance exceeding 5,000. It has pulled out 4 persons, 4 residents. All right. So this is how the filter works. Remember, first step is to highlight the headings, paste them, put in your criteria, and highlight the table that you're going to be filtering through. Click on advanced, put in these values, select the areas for these values, and then you click OK. All right, so I've done it already, so I'm going to cancel. And there you have your filter. All right, so let us move to the next instruction. It says sort the residents based on last name and then by first name in ascending order. So we're going to go back to the sheet. We're going to go up to the table, the main table. We're going to highlight from the heading all the way across, go to the very last piece of data, and then we're going to make sure that we're under the data tab, right? Under the data tab. Oops, hold on, let me pin back my thing, right? And then we're going to click on sort in the sort and filter group. Then it asks you, how do you want to sort your columns? Now, if your columns have heading like first name, last name, as we do, make sure it says, the box that says my data has headers is checked. Then in the sort by box, you're going to drop it down and select last name because that's the first thing you're told to sort it by. Now, they're also told to sort it by first name, so you need to add another level. So we click on the add level button, and then we drop down the then by box and select first name. We're told to sort in ascending order, so it's A to Z. So we leave that and we click OK. So you notice here that I have Addison, Brown, Bundy, Daniels, Golding is in alphabetical order. All right. So if you had 2 Browns, what it would have done is it would have put the one whose first name letter appear first, and then the next one. But we don't have. So for example, here's a case in point. We have James and we have James. So notice it has Earl James before Simeon James. If I didn't have the sort by first name again, if Simeon's name had appeared before Earl's name in the list before it was sorted, then when it was sorted, it would have just had Simeon James and Earl James. But adding the then by first name ensures that it is sorted completely. All right, so that is your sort. And please remember, students, to save as you go along. I'm not going to save this because I already have, well, I might save it at the end because I may not finish the solution before we get to the end of the class. All right, so this is the the sort. Let us go to the next instruction. It says create a pivot table to summarize the room types and the balance due. So what we're doing, what your pivot table does, it goes through a bunch of data and it pulls out common threads or common things, and it groups the data based on those common things. So what is common among the residents is that they are all placed into different types of rooms, right? And we want to know the balance due based on the room. So we want to know the balance due on the single room, the single deluxe, the garden view, and all of that. How do we do the pivot table? We highlight the data that we want to perform the pivot table on. We go to the Insert tab, and we click on the first icon which says Pivot Table. We want to create the pivot table on a new sheet, so we make sure that it says New Worksheet, and we click OK. It will bring up the sheet, and it will bring up some things on the right-hand side. Now, remember, we're doing it based on room type, so we scroll down and select Room Type. It will put it in rows. We don't want it in the column because if I click and drag it over into columns, it will put it across like that. I don't want it like that. It's going to take up too much space. So I click here. Then I want to be doing it based on the balance due. So it will total kind of sum of all the balance due based on the different room types. So you notice the sheet on the left hand side changes. When let me take out back the values. When I add room type, it adds the column, the row labels, right? And when I added the balance due, it adds it besides as another column. If I wanted to show the amount that was paid, I could also put that there and it could add another column, but I don't want that, so I won't add that column. And that is your pivot table, guys, a summary of what is in your side of your spreadsheet. I'm going to highlight the monetary values and set them to currency as I always do, to keep my spreadsheet. So I'm going to rename the spreadsheet as pivot table balance due. All right, and press enter. You can always adjust the number of rows in front because later on you're going to add a heading. So I'm going to highlight the first two rows by clicking and dragging on the first two. So I click on the first one, click on the first one like this and just drag down to the second, right click, insert. So it will insert two additional rows, and I can say right click and insert again, insert two additional rows, and then you can put the heading at the top when you're ready. All right, so that's the pivot table. Then I'm going to go to, it says create a column chart that will show the room types along with the balance due. So the pivot table is now going to be used to do a column chart. So I simply highlight the rows, the different room types, and the balance due. I go to insert, I go to charts, I look for column charts, drop it down, and I select the type. I like 3D charts, so I select the 3D chart, but anyone you want to use is fine. All right, you decide how you want it to look. It's all up to you. You can use this one, that look, that look, that look. All right, so I'm going to just keep it nice and simple. I'm going to use that one. Now you notice the chart is on the same sheet as the data. I don't want the chart to be on the same sheet as the data, so I'm going to move the chart. Make sure your chart is highlighted, and in the in the analyze column, these are the pivot chart tools, so these will not always be there, but I'm now in the analyze tab, and the move chart is in the middle here. If I was in the design tab, the move chart will be at the end. It's the same icon, same option. It doesn't matter which one. So you can even change how the chart looks in terms of style and all of that. You can play around with it, guys. It's there for you to play around with it. I'm just going to do the basics just to make sure you see what is happening, right? So I'm going to move the chart by clicking on move chart, and where it says new sheet, I'm going to select that option button. I'm going to type column chart, and I'm going to leave that column chart. I'm not going to put anything else on it. I don't have to because it's just one column chart we're creating. I click OK, and the chart is shifted. Now I want to ensure that the chart has a label, a heading, a title. It must have X and Y axes. This particular format does not have it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the format tab, the design tab, and where it says quick layout, I'm going to click on it. It's on the left hand side of your ribbon, and I'm going to pick a layout that has chart title, and X and Y axis labels, which is layout 9. I'm going to click on layout 9 and I'm going to type balance due based on room type, right? And then now I'm going to change this one doesn't have, oh, here it is. I thought it had gone. Change the x-axis to room types or room type, and then the y-axis label to amount. So that it's showing the amount in monetary figures. All right. Now, if I do a switch row column, you notice you get different colors, but I don't want the switch row column. I leave it as it is. This is the legend. Make sure you have a legend on yours, and that is fine. And the chart is finished. Let me just fix the heading here and change to a capital B. Guys, if you were doing a pie chart, which would not be, you could do a pie chart, but I didn't want a pie chart. You just would have simply selected pie chart where I went to select chart type. All right. So that is the chart. And make sure you save as you go along. Okay, so we're going to move now to the next instruction. And the next instruction says we're going to be doing some goal seek. But what I'm going to do, because this session is going to end on us again, I'm going to end it here so that we end the video at a good point and we restart the session again on instruction number 15. All right, guys, so I'm going to log out and come back.